Good evening. Welcome to the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Our lead-off story today, we're going to be talking about Antifa. An Antifa leader known as Commander Red was busted carrying a flamethrower to a Wisconsin Black Lives Matter rally and dropped into a fetal position, and began crying when stopped by cops, officials said. Matthew Banter, 23, is known to be a violent Antifa member who incites violence in otherwise relatively peaceful protests. A criminal complaint in his Green Bay arrest record insisted, according to WBAY, he was carrying stickers and a flag for the controversial group, the name which is short for anti-fascist, Antifa, along with military-grade 5-minute smoke grenades, fireworks rockets, and flamethrower, according to the Green Bay Press-Gazette. Banter was stopped after being spotted with a whole bunch of white people with sticks, baseball bats, and helmets heading toward a BLM event in Green Bay, Wisconsin, police said in a criminal complaint. The others fled when a cop blocked them with his squad car, but Banter was stopped and dropped into a fetal position, as we said earlier, and began crying, the police report. On the police report, it said he complained that the officer got on top of him, which police denied, WBAY said. It's worrisome when people associated with Antifa come here to Green Bay from out of town for the purposes of committing violent acts on our citizens, Andrew Smith told the station. At the time of Saturday's arrest, Banter was out on a $10,000 cash bond after being accused of pointing a loaded gun at police officers, as well as biting and kicking a cop at a protest earlier this month, the report said. A condition of his bond was that he can't have dangerous weapons, according to the Brown County District Attorney. The 23-year-old from Neenah, about 40 miles south of Green Bay, was charged with obstructing an officer and 2 counts of felony bail jumping after Saturday's arrest. The report says he was released late Monday on a $2,500 bond, court records show. Why was he released? If he already violated one bond, why do you release this man out into the public again, who's already committed a crimes of violence? He was one of the 15 arrested at Saturday's Black Lives Matter protest that turned violent in the city and was deemed an unlawful assembly by police, they said. Burning buildings, hurting people, shooting, looting, vandalizing. There's absolutely no way that is a form of peaceful protest, Smith told Fox 11. Again, Antifa's in the news. Portland shooting victim Aaron Danielson was hunted down and executed, his friend says. Man shot and killed amid clashes between Trump supporters and BLM protesters in Portland. They executed my partner, he said. Chandler Pappas told a Common Sense conservative about watching Aaron, who he called Jay, Danielson's death Saturday in the latest round of violence in the Oregon City. They hunted him down. They hunted us down, he said, believing the government noticed their caps in support of the right-wing group Patriot Prayer, which Pappas again wore during the interview. It didn't even register that someone was pointing a gun at us until the shots went off and he took off running. He said of the shooting that was caught on video, I turned to check on my partner and he was on the ground, he recalled. They blew his heart out. He was probably dead before he hit the ground, he said. He insisted the shooter was a stranger who targeted them because they had wandered away from the hundreds who joined a pro-President Trump caravan in the chaotic city that night. I think it was planned. I think they were looking for someone to hurt, Pappas said. I think they were looking for someone just like us who was down there unprotected, who didn't go and bring guns because we didn't have the intention to kill people, he said. Jay's dead because he believes something different than them, he said, insisting his 39-year-old friend was not a racist or xenophobe. He's an independent man, and he's a good man, and he was a good man, and he didn't do anything to earn a bullet in his chest, he said. Pappas urged Trump to send troops to stop the rioters. Asked when they should come, he said 90 days ago. And President Trump tried to send them, sir, but the governor there did not help. We were willing to send out the National Guard, but they refused President Trump's assistance. And they continue to refuse even up to the day before. If we don't get a handle on this, more people are going to die. Anybody who's read a history book will tell you that he said this is long past the point of civil conversation. Well, you're watching a Black Conservative Voice. We're going to take a break here, and we'll be right back with you in a moment.
Dr. Melinda Morris supports a strong economy, safe neighborhoods, limited property taxes, and promotes an improved education system. Dr. Melinda Morris wants to improve access and insurance coverage for medical care. Dr. Morris is pro-life and will support right-to-life legislation in Austin. Dr. Morris will remain true to her values when she is elected to office. She is going to Austin to promote life, prosperity, and personal freedom for the constituents of Senate District 13.
Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Kayleigh McEnany, a White House press secretary, played footage of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in the shuttered San Francisco salon on Thursday, as she said the House Speaker ought to apologize to Americans. Nancy Pelosi was not in the halls of Congress when I asked where she was. She was not working in good faith to make a deal for the American people. McEnany said during a White House briefing. Nope, Nancy Pelosi was found in San Francisco at a hair salon where she was indoors, even though the salons in California are only open for outdoor service. Salons in San Francisco have been closed since March and could reopen only outdoor hair services on September 1st. Pelosi says the salon owner owes me an apology for setting me up. Nancy Pelosi, you owe the American people an apology for all the time the Democrat Party wasted last year with false charges of our president to try and impeach him. Trump wasting time, taxpayers' money, and now holding up much needed relief to the American people affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, or whatever you say it is. Apparently, the rules do not apply to Speaker Nancy Pelosi. McEnany said she wants small businesses to stay shut down, but only reopen for her convenience. The press secretary continued Do as I say, not as I do, says Nancy Pelosi. She added that the California Democrat was holding up $1.3 trillion in coronavirus relief for Americans in need. Nancy Pelosi and Stephen Mnuchin make little progress in the COVID-19 relief talks. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin on Tuesday spoke by phone to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi as negotiations on coronavirus relief legislation remain at a standstill. Mnuchin reached out to Pelosi, Democrat from California, after pledging to do so before the House Select Subcommittee on Coronavirus Crisis, another waste of time, which is investigating the federal government's response to the pandemic after he testified before the panel earlier in the day. During his testimony, the Trump cabinet member said he wanted to restart negotiation but rejected House Democrats' $2.2 trillion compromise proposal, arguing it was too high. And then let me go and say this. Mnuchin said this. Let me say I very much agree with you and those other experts that more fiscal response is needed. The president and I want to move forward with more fiscal response, Mnuchin said. After speaking to Mnuchin for over half an hour, Pelosi said no progress was made, but touted Democrats' proposed compromise legislation. Sadly, the phone call to Nancy Pelosi by Stephen Mnuchin made clear that Democrats continue to have serious differences with the Republicans who understand the gravity of the situation that the American workers and families are facing, while Democrats want more pork added to the COVID-19 aid package. Mnuchin said he is willing to meet Pelosi anytime to restart COVID-19 aid negotiations. Now, I will tell you this because this is something I know for sure. They forced that first stimulus package for us to reopen and fix up some theater in Washington, D.C. A theater. Can you believe this? This is for the pandemic. You're talking about fixing up a theater, but you said people have to stay 6 feet apart and not wear masks. Why are you so interested in fixing up a theater? But this is the foolishness that they put in their bills. And the only reason they want that additional funds, and we'll talk about that in a minute, House and Senate Democrats have repeatedly offered to compromise over the months ago, they say, that we would be willing to cut $1 trillion from the HEROES Act if the White House would add $1 trillion to the Senate bill. Last week, we said we would be willing to go down to 2.2 million or 2.2 trillion, she said in a statement after the call. Yes, Democrats, but House Speaker Pelosi refused to budge on the aid package to Democrat cities that have allowed Antifa and BLM to reap havoc in their cities and states. It was all a plan. They planned it. If you look at the associations between Antifa and BLM, they are there. You go to either one of those websites and they lead you to Democrat support or to Joe Biden's site. They try to tell you that was an issue that had nothing to do with Mr. Biden. But I think I would know if I went to go on my site and Antifa was immediately led into it. At least that's what I've heard from computer experts. House Democrats passed that $3.4 trillion bill, but during the testimony, Mnuchin said he and the president supported more funding for workers, schools, coronavirus testing, and small business relief. Despite Democrats dropping down $2.2 trillion, the Trump administration has not gone higher than about $1.3 million in its negotiation. It's because the Democrats want $1 trillion to go to cities of failed Democrat governors and mayors and the cities who allowed them to be destroyed by Antifa. They want the money to send to them to repair those cities so they can say, hey, we got it, we did this. Yeah, give me a break. And that is the reason why the bill is up $1 trillion. They want to send that money to repair stuff that their people, their leftist parties, Antifa and BLM destroyed. With the November election approaching and Senate Republicans striving to maintain their majority in the upper chamber of Congress, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell will hopefully unveil a new coronavirus rescue package next week, Mnuchin said in a Fox Business Network interview Monday. We're going to take a short break right now here on a Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert. I'll be right back with you in a moment.
We come together to imagine a future determined by the shining light of our hopes and values and faith. A country where we are judged by our character with dignity and respect for all. The belief that all are created equal, that lives matter irrespective of race, creed, or color. Committed to excelling beyond our dreams. 4 years ago, we faced an historic crossroad. Career politicians promising change every election, but delivering emptiness. We chose a different path. A man who is not a politician. A man who cares. A man who works tirelessly for you. Still, politicians spun their deceptions and obstructed progress, fanning the flames of lawlessness. We all know that it is easy to criticize. It takes a true leader to solve problems. COVID-19, while others criticize without solutions, President Trump's swift action saved lives. And as leading Democrats want to keep businesses closed down, our president is leading the way for a full economic recovery. We are America. We as Americans work together to overcome challenges, write our own stories. America. Land of promise, land of opportunity, land of heroes, land of greatness.
Commander-in-Chief. It's more than just a job. Since taking office, President Donald Trump has rebuilt our military, repaired a broken VA, and eliminated Soleimani, al-Baghdadi, ISIS, the world's deadliest terrorists brought to justice. Today, America is safer and stronger than ever. Because to President Trump, it's more than just a job. It's a sworn duty to keep America safe.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Mnuchin added that the GOP-backed legislation would focus on children, jobs, liability protection for small businesses, a red line for Republicans. The bill is estimated to have somewhere between $500 billion and $700 billion price tag, according to The Hill, a significant drop from the $2.2 trillion Democrats want. McConnell will hopefully propose coronavirus bill next week. And I ask, please, Democrats, please pass this bill and get it over with. There are a lot of people suffering. My neighbors, people I know, I'm having to help people because they are struggling during this pandemic and they're looking for help and support as well. So we need to be focused on the American people, not on our own pocketbooks or on our own ideas of what we want. Mnuchin went on to say he and the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows have been daily in contact with McConnell and other Senate Republicans by phone. On Tuesday, McConnell told fellow Senate GOP lawmakers during a conference call with Mnuchin and Meadows that the senator is tough regulation fights wanted to vote on a relief bill as soon as possible, reported The Hill. McConnell wants it. McConnell said today is that every member who's up for the re-election who has a hint of vulnerability wants a bill that gets 51 votes, the source said on Tuesday. Of course, they're all up for it. Well, I want to give you this opportunity here on a Black Conservative Voice. If you're interested in in supporting this program. We have opportunities for advertising our commercials, and we're very low cost, very low budget. For if you have a low budget and you're in a business, this is a perfect place to advertise your business. We'll help you to actually organize an ad as well for a small fee, so that you won't have to worry about creating an ad. So give us an email, drop us an email, so that we can get that put together for you. So we're going to take a short break right now. We're going to be right back at you in a moment here on the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert.
Dr. Melinda Morris supports a strong economy, safe neighborhoods, limited property taxes, and promotes an improved education system. Dr. Melinda Morris wants to improve access and insurance coverage for medical care. Dr. Morris is pro-life and will support right-to-life legislation in Austin. Dr. Morris will remain true to her values when she is elected to office. She is going to Austin to promote life, prosperity, and personal freedom for the constituents of Senate District 13.
Welcome back. You're watching the Black Conservative Voice with David Colbert here on the CTM News Network, the voice of truth. Oh boy, this is crazy. These ex-presidents keep coming up. Bill Clinton says in his little joke, Trump will be stacking bags to stay in the White House. This is an article, some else's article anyway. The American Urban Radio, April Ryan, on Tuesday had the Clintons, and they ramped up their warnings that Trump would likely take a November defeat this ungracefully during a joint Instagram live interview with the White House correspondents for American Urban Radio, April Ryan, on Tuesday. Bill's quip came after Ryan joked that the military would have to pry Trump's orange knuckles grip from his Oval Office desk in the instant that he loses. Give me a break. That is not the truth. President Trump does not need anything from the White House. He doesn't take a salary from it. They don't tell you that. He's trying to help the American people. But let me tell you something, Americans, and those of you who study and know your history and who are informed will know exactly what I'm saying. Whenever you see these issues come up, you see it come up in other countries, it's because they're trying to set up a coup for the country. It's always the case. In Mexico, it's happened several times, where one president gets elected and then he try to refute it, and then they come out saying they won, and so there's a battle, so now it has to be figured out. And I hate to predict it, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly what's going to happen in this election because of all the underhanded things that the Democrat Party is already doing to try to make sure that happens as far as these mail-in voting as well goes. Trying to keep people locked up and keep them away from the polls. I don't know if you know the history of things, but if some of you, I'm sure some of you are historians, you know history and stuff. And there was a young lady by the name of Susan B. Anthony who was blocked, who was not blocked, but she was allowed to go into a poll and a vote vote in an election of her time. But she was reported by a Democrat poll watcher. The Democrats were watching the polls, trying to make sure that women didn't vote. I encourage women out there, maybe you may not like President Trump or whatever, but really if you want this country to stay safe and stay in a strong condition, you need to re-elect President Donald J. Trump. The Clintons, during their interview, disparaged Trump's fear-based campaign. See, this is what gets me. His fear-based campaign, You got Antifa and BLM in your cities destroying things. How come they can't go do it in the non-democrat cities and governors? It's because they're trying to do it, but we are shutting them down because we are not allowing our police to be defunded. We're not allowing criminals and Antifa and BLM to come in and try to take over our cities, even here in Texas. We don't have that. You don't mess with Texas. You want to have some problems? Come try to mess with Texas. We will take care of you. And then he says, we're going to resolve and strong on that front line, and we're going to get our country back. The former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton said, get your country back. You never cared about this country. Even at the time when we were going through the things we were going through in the riots that occurred a few years back, even with the Freddie Gray things and all those things were going on, they didn't care nothing. What support did they really give? They definitely don't support the police. I'm telling you people, if you want this country to stay strong and stay on the right track, you had better vote for Donald J. Trump and the Republican Party come November. Else you'll be voting for more delays, as we saw with the impeachment garbage. They've already started with this pandemic mess. Don't you know, if they get in office, and even if they don't get in office, even if they lose control of the Republican, if they lose control of the House, they're still going to be causing delays. But if we put the Republicans in charge, we will be able to move good legislation through to support the American workers, the American people, and their families. Please, American people, vote Donald J. Trump. He may not be a perfect person, but I'm telling you, you're not perfect either. Neither am I. We all fall short of the glory of God, to quote scripture. But I'm saying we have got to get this country out of control, and I do not trust Joe Biden and his America to do that. He's already said he's going to force you all to wear masks, and I'm telling you, if it goes that direction, he's going to also lock everybody down till he says that everybody takes a vaccine or takes a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, if you understand what I'm saying. Well, anyway, I want to thank you for joining me here on the Black Conservative Voice. My name is David Colbert. We're on every Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 8:15. We're on Roku TV. We're also on Amazon Fire, and soon to be on the cable network. So please keep watching, and do take an opportunity to sponsor this program, because the rates are really, really low. And at this particular time, we're seeing at least 10 to 50,000 viewers per program. So please continue to tune in, those of you who are followers of this program, and we will continue to give you the news from the conservative viewpoint. And let me say this one other thing before I go. The fact that I put black in front of the name of this show does not mean that I have any racial connotations that I'm trying to put forth. I'm just trying to let the people of my race know that you can be a conservative too. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin. I just so happen to be black. If I were white, it'd probably be the white conservative voice. Anyway, well, we want to thank you once again for joining us. And as I always do, I want to say, God bless you, God bless America, and God bless the world. This is David Colbert saying good night.
We come together to imagine a future determined by the shining light of our hopes and values and faith. A country where we are judged by our character with dignity and respect for all. The belief that all are created equal, that lives matter irrespective of race, creed, or color. Committed to excelling beyond our dreams. 4 years ago, we faced an historic crossroad Career politicians promising change every election, but delivering emptiness. We chose a different path, a man who is not a politician, a man who cares, a man who works tirelessly for you. Still, politicians spun their deceptions and obstructed progress, fanning the flames of lawlessness. We all know that it is easy to criticize. It takes a true leader to solve problems. COVID-19, while others criticize without solutions, President Trump's swift action saved lives. And as leading Democrats want to keep businesses closed down, our president is leading the way for a full economic recovery. We are America. We as Americans work together to overcome challenges, write our own stories. America, land of promise, land of opportunity, land of heroes, land of greatness.